This podcast and actually my business wouldn't be as pretty if it weren't for our friends from MusicBed. Find the perfect song for your films with a highly curated roster featuring hundreds of artists, bands, and composers. As a Wedding Bossness listener, you could get your first month of subscription free or 20% off of a single song purchase. Just enter the promo code WeddingBossness when you check out. Or just click on the link in the show notes. Hey, Alan, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It's great to be on a show with somebody as famous as you.
I know. We haven't seen each other in a long time. Maybe I don't know, a couple of hours.
Yeah, a couple hours, hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's nice about you and I is we kind of get it that you have to be out there. You can't just sit at home and expect business to come to you. You have to be out there to go get it. So people like me, people like you, people like other people who we see out there all the time, they get it that you have to be present. You have to be out there because if you're not, your competition will be out there.
Exactly. The magic of just being out there, just people seeing you and knowing who you are and actually seeing your personality. To some people, not being out there works for them, but for me, they need to see they need to see my personality because
right, and they'll give you business in spite of that.
Yes.
So they always say if you build if you have the best mousetrap and nobody knows about it, you're not going to catch any mice. You're not going to sell any mousetraps. So you just got to get people out there to know who you are.
Okay.
And
yeah.
You're an expert at that. I'm an expert at that. And let's get more people to be experts at doing that.
Oh
and that
gosh.
way everybody together and we can all sing Kumbaya and make a lot of money.
Oh, I like the last part. So, okay. So before we start, let's just to the 5 listeners who don't know who you are, tell us something about yourself that they probably don't know about you.
Probably one of the craziest things about me that you don't know is I was on Jerry Springer 4 times. They hired me to do characters on the show. I did Cupid, and I did Father Time, and I did the King of Carnival, and I did Santa for some of their specials.
No way.
So I did. That was one of my craziest ones. And the only reason why I did it is so I could come on a program like this and go, "Oh my God, I was on Jerry Springer." You don't do it for the money, the glory. You do it for the story, and so it made for some great stories.
Oh, I bet. So, do they usually have like an audition whenever you do that, or they just pick you up from the street or something?
No, I had called in, pitched them an idea. They loved my idea, and they just kept having me come back. They kept flying me out to Chicago.
That's crazy.
And, all expenses paid, put me up in a hotel, picked me up in the limousines, took me to the studio, had my dressing room. It was great.
Wow. Okay.
Treated like a real celebrity for them.
So you're saying everyone? It's kind of like a professional wrestling. Everyone is just.
I can neither confirm nor deny that due to my contractual obligations to the show. I was a special guest.
Okay, gotcha.
But how the other people are, that is yet to be seen.
Okay. Is Jerry Springer still on? Are they making new seasons?
I don't think so. It's probably in rerun somewhere.
Okay.
But Jerry Springer show will never actually die. It'll just come out somewhere.
Yeah. People love to watch those things, and it amazes me how entertaining that is. So I'm happy.
Well, and that's kind of was the original reality shows, stuff like that. Now, one thing people don't realize when they're watching reality shows is that reality really isn't reality.
Yes.
So it's all these reality shows. The scenarios are created.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily exist. I've been on several reality shows, and we create drama. We create moments. Probably my most famous recent one was, I think about a year and a half ago, was on 90 Day Fiancé.
Oh, that's right.
Where I did the big major finale wedding of the most hated bride and the doofiest groom. But I ended up doing their ceremony, and uh, the video, the final edited version wasn't anything like what we actually did. So
I
it
bet.
was kind of interesting to watch what we did and then what ended up on the cutting room floor or on the screen.
I've had people who watch those shows where it's a contest about singers or a talent show, and usually they said whenever they get there, they already know who's gonna win because everything's like set up, and so it's kind of like heartbreaking, but at the same time entertaining. So
Well, I mean, like for me, I was on the original talent show. I was on the Gong Show when I was 16 years old,
wow,
if you remember the Gong
yeah,
Show. And at that point, it was up in the air. Nobody knew who was going to win, who was going to be gonged. They had their ideas, but that was true fun reality because you didn't know what was going to happen. And I was on 7 times on that show.
that was crazy.
So,
So is that well? I guess my next question then is, how did you get into the business, and what are you up to now?
so I got into the wedding business because of my entertainment business. A friend of mine was getting married, and I was going to be his best man. And he goes, you know what? I'd really like my brother to be my best man. So how about if you do the ceremony? You're the entertainer of all of our friends. So you're the one who's been on TV and movies and plays. Why don't you do the ceremony? And I'm like, you know what? Let me try it. And after the ceremony, everybody came up to me and goes, oh my God, Alan, this is what you should be doing for a living. You have a knack for this. That was the best wedding I've ever seen before. And everybody came up to me and said that. I'm like, well, okay, let me look into it. And I put up a website, and people started calling me and calling me and calling me. And I got too busy, so I started adding people onto my team and adding people onto my team. And then people wanted priests, I added them. People wanted rabbis, I added them. People wanted bilingual, I added them. So I got to the 37 officiants that I have right now.
Wow, how long ago was this?
I started in 2003, so that's when my first wedding was. September 14th, 2003.
Oh my gosh, that's Stella's birthday. My wife,
Really?
Stella, my wife, yeah. So
All right.
she's your
All right.
lucky
So
charm.
she was born like 4 years before that, right?
Yeah, she's actually 15 right.
Yeah.
So okay,
You do have a wonderful bride.
she's fantastic. I yeah. Okay, so out of since 2003, so that's 16 years,
16
right?
years. Yeah.
16 years. And how many reviews have you had since then?
Uh, well, online. Let's talk about weddings. I personally have done probably about 6,500 weddings.
Whew.
But I only have probably 2,500 reviews. So not everybody reviews it. So one of the things we're talking about today that I kind of want to stress about is how to get reviews and how not to get bad reviews. See, we all worry about getting reviews, but a lot of things people don't look at is not to get bad reviews. So if you have a moment, I'd like to talk to you about how not to get a bad or how not to get a bad review.
That would be great.
The way to not get a bad review is to not screw up. Is to do what you're contracted to do. If you're supposed to be there at 5 o'clock, be there at 4:30. If you're supposed to, for you, if you're supposed to shoot video of this and that and make sure you get it, do that and then do more. Exceed expectations at all times. If you just do what you were hired to do, in most cases, you're not going to get a great review. You might not get any review, or you might get, well, they did a good job. It was okay. What you want to do is you want to give people the opportunity to brag about you. And you want to do your job in a way where you've done the best job that that you've done the best job. In fact, every wedding that you walk into, every event that you walk into, you got to go in there with the idea that, hey, I'm going to do this wedding and I'm going to be the best at what I do. That I'm going to do the best job because I know somebody's going to review me. And you just got to imagine that Yelp is sitting there in the corner looking at you, waiting for you to screw up and do something bad, so Yelp can all of a sudden say something about you. So every time you walk in, imagine Yelp is sitting in the corner, because they are. They are always there. They're always somebody. If you screw up, they're ready to be there to knock you down.
So I
So
have
that's why you have to do your job, exceed expectations, do your job properly, show up early, and work with the other vendors. Because if you all work as a team, I know when we work together, especially when we do alpaca weddings, which is a whole nother story.
oh yeah.
We work together as a team. We want to make sure that we've got it together. Okay, let's get it started this way. Let's do here. Let's work together. Let's get these angles. We work together as a team. And that's what's going to make the best product for me. And that's what's going to make the best product for you. And then when the couple reviews it all at the end, they're going to go, wow, this happened perfectly. The video came out great, except for that psycho couple, but that's a whole nother story. And that's what we have to accomplish.
Okay, so my question now is, when you say exceed expectations, how do you actually set expectations?
Well, that's what you do
yeah.
when you have your initial meeting with your couple, is you find out what they want. So for you, for video, okay, we want a video which shows our family, which shows our ceremony, which shows our food. Do that, but even get it more in depth when you're doing it. Really try to focus in on what they're imagining, and then just do a little more. Get private interviews, get a little extra. That's stuff you can work with.
Yeah, it's always trying to exceed expectations. And so when I was actually talking to someone last night about she just got her first bad review and she couldn't get over it because it was a review that wasn't fair. And now I'm wondering, how do you deal with that when you get a bad review?
Well, getting a bad review it hurts you to your soul. I mean, you try to do your best job, and when you look at that review, all of a sudden your heart sinks. And it's because we always take pride in what we do. Sometimes we screw up, and sometimes we deserve a bad review. But sometimes if we're doing our job right and we think it's right, and somebody criticizes us or gives us a bad review, it hurts your soul. So I tell people the first thing to do is to go into your computer, open up a Word document, and type out the meanest, vile, nasty response to that review. Just say every swear word you want to say about that person who gave you that review, every stupid thing that they did, everything that messed up and why you're so mad at them. Take that, print it out, and then rip it up and throw it in your trash. Because at least you get that off your chest. Because otherwise, that's burning inside your chest. After you do that, then you have to figure out, well, did I do something wrong? Did I not provide the superior service that I did? And if you feel that you did, well, then you have a couple of options. Okay. First off, if you did mess up and you did blow it, own up to it. All right. Most of the time when people are putting a review out there and they give you a bad review, it's to hold you accountable for what you've done. So it happened to me the other day, about 3 weeks ago. All of a sudden I get a bad review. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I get them on the phone and I say, hey, I just saw that you gave us one-star review. What happened? And it turned out it really wasn't anything that we had done. Everybody, all the other vendors dropped the ball, and we kind of got stuck because of it. The microphone wasn't working, things like that. And I go, nobody could hear you. You kind of joked about it. I'm like, I have a moment where I'm up there where I have to take charge of the situation. I have no microphone, so I have to do something. And so I talked with her, and all she really wanted to do was tell somebody how mad she was about everything that happened. And I listened to her, and I understood. I go, gosh, I'm so sorry. I know how this made your day. And I tried everything I could to, alleviate the challenge within my power. She goes, you're right. Thank you. You know what? I'm going to pull down that review, or I'm going to revise it, or I'm going to up the stars. I'm like, just pull it down, blah, blah, blah. Now, sometimes people aren't happy with that. sometimes people are just still so mad, so crazy. Oh, I'm going to leave that up. Well, you know what? If I didn't do my job, then I don't deserve to get paid. All right. And I'm going to tell you, look, if I screwed up and if you show me that I screwed up and I agree with that, then I'm going to refund you your money. In exchange for me refunding you your money, I ask that you pull down the review or give them a partial refund. People want to know that. And a lot of times people go, you know what? You've made amends. You're going to give me back the money for something you did. Okay, I'll remove it. And I don't want to have to give refunds, but if I didn't do my job, I mean, my guys know, all my guys on my team, if you're doing Mary and Bob's wedding and you call her Shirley, you don't collect any money for that. Okay. So,
Oh my
so if you
gosh.
made a mistake, yeah, own up to it.
Yeah.
Own up to it and suffer the consequences. Throw yourself on the sword. Hey, I messed up. I I screwed up and I apologize from the bottom of my heart. And sometimes they'll remove it.
Yeah. So this particular person, she got a bad review because I think the bride's friend wanted to be the DJ for that wedding, and the I think that's what caused it. So it wasn't something that she did personally, but so how do you handle that? Like people who put, because there's a lot of I found out maybe like a couple of years
The
ago.
review wasn't from the person they contracted the services with.
No, no.
Oh, then it's easy. Then one of the ways you do it is you can dispute reviews, especially on Wedding Wire and the Knot. You can always dispute it and say, "Hey, I did not have a contract with this person. I don't know who this person is. I did not work
Oh,
for this person. This was a possible competitor, somebody who wanted to get the gig but didn't get it." Um, and all of them have a way that you can dispute it.
okay.
So you just have to respond. I've gotten many Yelp reviews removed because it was from one time I got a bad review from a photographer who didn't like didn't like me. I don't know how anybody doesn't like me,
Yeah.
but we got a review from the photographer that she was a Christian and I didn't use any blessings in the ceremony, and she went off on it. And so I went to Yelp and I go, look, this person is not my contracted person. I did not have a contract with this person. They got upset with me because of this. And Yelp looked at my response and said, you know what, this is not a viable review. Wedding Wire looked at it and says, yeah, you know what, this is not a true review of what you did. And in many cases, they'll remove it.
Okay. That makes so
The
much
other
more
part,
sense.
if they won't remove it, then your only avenue is to explain it in a response. All the places where you get reviews will enable you to address it in a response. So here's what I do. Say if it was something that messed up that I didn't get, I didn't add a sand ceremony into it, or just something that messed up beyond my control, whatever it was. In my response, I'll going, here's what you do. You want to thank them. You want to thank them. You know how you ever hear the expression, don't get mad, get nicer? All
Kill
right.
them with
So you thank
kindness.
thank yeah, thank you so much for placing that review. Because you placed that review, I was able to learn something about my process. And because you placed that review, I've been able to revise everything that I do as far as that goes and come up with a way that will never happen to another couple again. And I want to thank you so much for helping other brides and grooms not have to ever be in that situation. I really appreciate you pointing this out to me. So now anybody looking at the crazy person's review and then they see your response will go, A, this person's crazy. And B, they'll look at it and go, well, wow, he understood that there was a problem and he's done something to make it so that will never happen again. So I don't have to worry about that being an issue with me.
Okay. So how do you feel? Because whenever I talk to people about reviews, the one particular company that there's a few companies that do this, but whenever they get a bad review, either a fake one or from an actual bride, they just don't respond to it because they feel like it's uh just putting gas on the fire or something like that. How do you feel
Well,
about that?
it can go both ways. Um, we had a couple not happy about something we did. We pretty much ignored them because we knew they were crazy and it was going to stop there. The other way to do it is ignore it and just get more reviews. But addressing it is something that's going to, in my mind, if I address a review, I'm going to find out where I made the mistake. I'm going to maybe try and get it removed. And if it doesn't work, they're gonna leave it there anyway. You just if you messed up, own up to it. But I just want to talk to the people and say, look, I understand the issue. Please accept my apology. And that's going to make me feel better. Otherwise, every time I'm like looking at my reviews and I see that 1-star review from that crazy person, it's going to hurt me still to my soul. And I want to see if I can get that resolved. And I want to look at that review and go, you know what? I did everything I could to have that crazy woman remove that. And it didn't. So I'm not crazy. That person's crazy. And that way I'll look at that. And because otherwise it's going to haunt you. It's going to bug you for the rest of your life.
So how do you feel then about responding to them, but in an email instead of on Yelp? Because you could respond on Yelp, right? How about
I
responding
don't
on
even
email?
respond to an email. I'm going to get on the phone with them and call them instantly.
That's perfect.
And what in fact, the other day, the bride had left this bad review. I had the husband's number. It was actually one of my guys' events, and I called the husband and I go, "Hey, your crazy wife." I didn't say that. I go, your wife left this bad review, and I remember when I was talking with you that we agreed to do things this way. And he goes, "Oh, I can't believe she did that." So he calls her up, and then she goes back onto Yelp and go, "Oh, here's an addendum to it. He called my husband and told him to have me remove the review."
Oh my gosh.
So then I called her up and threw myself on the sword. Hey, I'm really sorry, because that type of bride is the bride that's going to be vindictive. That's the type of bride that's going to call all her friends and do it. So at that point, I go, you know what? This one's a losing battle. Let me just see what I can do to get rid of her and out of my life forever. Because sometimes it's better to get rid of them and not have to deal with them than have to see that there. Um,
So how did you get rid of her?
I refunded her money in
Okay.
exchange for her removing her review. I think that's what she wanted in the first place.
Oh,
But you know what? I don't care at this point. At this point, she was going to be a nightmare. She was going to be a thorn in my side. I could see it. I could see her red eyes pointing at me. So I
you.
decided, you know what? Rather than have to deal with that, I want this out of my life. I don't need the stress in my life
Oh
of
yeah.
this crazy woman. All right, so let's just get rid of her out of my life forever.
So okay, now that I'm thinking about this, because we've both been in the industry for a long time, and we usually see red flags before they even come into the office.
Hmm.
How do you handle that part? Although the one wedding we did, it wasn't, there was no red flags, and but most of the time you could see, So how do you handle that part?
You know what? I learned, and I've learned that if there's an issue up front, if they're screaming at you early on, they're going to scream at you at the end. So I've turned down. In fact, it was about 2 weeks ago where we had a couple. I just was not communicating with them. I'm like, yeah, first you get your marriage license, then you do this, and we write that. Well, I don't want to have to do that, and they were like giving me adversarial attitude. And after thinking about it, I called them back and I go, you know what? I know I'm not the right person for you. I don't think that I have the right style for what you're looking for. I'm going to refund your deposit and wish you the best of luck and hope that you can find somebody that better fits your style. I would rather walk away than have the stress of dealing with that couple forever. It's not worth the money to me. All right.
Yeah, that's
I'll give up going to a concert to avoid that stress, that money that I would make.
so
Uh,
because I'm in a forum of just wedding videographers, and one of the main questions there is, how do I deal with brides who ghost us, or who say that, you know what, we're just gonna go with someone else. And then I always want to say, just let go of them. If you love them, set them free, and if they love you back, they're just gonna come back.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Like I had somebody call me the other day, And they're like, "How much is your, blah blah blah?" And I gave them the price. They go, "Oh, well, so and so is going to do it cheaper." I'm like, "Oh, great, then go to so and so."
Yeah.
And when they don't deliver the product that you want, give me a call back. I'm
That's
not gonna I'm not gonna play the game with them. You don't like my product? It's okay. Go with this other guy. If they don't serve you properly, I'm here for you.
that's what we do too. Like, say, spare yourself the headache. And whenever we got that email before, they said, "Oh, they're doing this for a cheaper rate, and they're a bigger company." We're like, "Oh my gosh, you should grab that because it's gonna be it's gonna be worth it." And they ended up booking with us with a higher package. So, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. And I tell people, hey, you know what? A lower price is good. Just make sure they're going to give you exactly what you want. And if they're not, then come back to us and talk. All right, because we offer this and that. We want to make sure. I mean, my reviews speak for themselves, except for the crazy people. But my reviews speak for themselves. If you can't find, and I tell people, I have the affordability and luxury to do this. I tell people, look, if you can find a wedding officiant out there who has as many reviews as I do, I'll give you a free wedding plus $1,000. All right.
wow, nice.
You know, at the end you call it a Hail Mary, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they're just you just try everything. Well, you know what? I'll bring a free goat. Just throw a Hail Mary up there and just hope it works. Sometimes it does. I had one the other day. They wanted to use they called me back and they go, you know what? We decided to have a friend do it. Right? I had nothing to lose at this point. I go,
Yeah.
you know what? Having a friend is great, but if they mess up your paperwork, if they don't do this properly, then guess what? You're not married, and you don't want to ruin the rest of your life together. And they call me back 2 days later and they go, you know what? We decided not to have our friend do it. We want a professional there, and they hired me.
That's good.
So it's a Hail Mary. You have nothing to lose sometimes.
Yep.
When they're all, no, 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 no. Okay, well, blah, blah, blah.
So okay.
That's
So how
much.
do you, now I'm so because you were saying that for them to be able to take down the reviews or to resolve problems, you just refund them the money, right? But
In
like,
some cases, not in every case.
okay, so like for us, for videographers, some videographers charge $2,000, some charge
Right?
4 or 6. I don't think we could refund that much money. So
You would refund a portion.
okay,
Say, and if you don't like it, I'm gonna, think about how much time think about how much profit you have in it, and you know what? Sometimes you just give back maybe what your little bit of profit is or
yeah,
part of it. You go, you know what? We did our job. We were there. You didn't like the final product, or we had an issue. In my mind, that's worth $1,000. So I'm just going to give you $1,000 back. Well, think of what you can do with that $1,000.
okay,
Would you rather put this terrible review up there, or would you rather have that $1,000 to spend on whatever?
okay, makes
You don't have to
sense.
do the whole thing. But just offer them something. I told this one couple I was going to send them a gift card. I go, you know what? It, Something that was my error on the marriage license. I go, you know what? To solve this, I'm going to fix your license at my cost, and I'm going to send you a gift card so you two can go out to dinner and laugh about this. I sent them I forgot, it was like a Chili's gift card,
Yeah, well,
and they were happy.
yeah, yeah. So kind of like with
He wants his baby back, baby back, baby back.
chili baby back ribs.
Please, baby back ribs. Yeah.
So maybe instead of like, because I'm thinking of alternatives now, and you brought up a really good point. Give them gift cards, and maybe you could give them like a $200 Mastro's gift card or something like that. I've never eaten at Mastro, so I don't know if $200 is a good amount.
So that'll get you drinks and an appetizer.
Okay, then enjoy your appetizers and drinks.
That's right. No, Masters is great. It's one of my favorite places.
So maybe you could
Um,
do that instead of like refunding $1,000.
yeah, there's lots of ways. A refund is a generic term for giving something back. You don't have to give your whole thing back. You can give a partial, or you can give a gift certificate. There's just lots of ways to go. I'm really sorry. How about this? How about if I treat the two of you to dinner? Blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah.
that's a
Or how
really
about
good
if you
point.
come on over and Stella will cook for you?
Oh, I could cook, not Stella.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. They're gonna get the runs. No, I'm just kidding. Okay,
Well, if they
so
want Filipino food, then I'll come over and I'll cook for all of you.
oh, that's perfect. Oh my gosh, you're wearing the barong and everything.
I will.
Oh
Hey, that's
man.
how I met my girlfriend, my fiance, wearing a barong at a wedding. So
How is she, by the way? I haven't seen her in a while.
she's doing good. I was just on the phone with her moments before you called. So
Sweet.
so she's doing great.
Okay, so now I want to ask you, since I think we've talked about how to handle bad reviews, right? We didn't
Right.
forget anything. Now
How to get the reviews.
I
Right.
actually want to ask you, when is the perfect time to get the review or ask for the review? But before you even think about what your answer is, I'd love to quickly thank our friends from HoneyBook. HoneyBook is a CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship Management System, and that software helps us manage and organize our customers' data. Clients always comment on how fast we respond to their inquiries. Since HoneyBook is one of the only small business CRMs that has an app, we get an alert every time someone fills out our contact form, and then we are able to send them a brochure right away. It all boils down to the customer experience. The more you make it easy for them, the more comfortable they will be in handing you their money. By eliminating that part of your business, you get to have your life back. And your clients will get the experience that they deserve. Win win. So if you use my referral link, you'll get 50% off on your first year. That's not all. I really want you to succeed, so once you become a member through us, you'll be getting a 30-minute phone call to answer your questions about anything, your business or HoneyBook. Just click on the links in the show notes. I'm so sorry. What was your answer to my question?
So it's very industry dependent. For me, like if I'm performing a ceremony, I'll wait 2 weeks. The reason why I'm waiting 2 weeks is the first week they're going to be on their honeymoon. The second week they've gotten back into life, and by the beginning of the third week they'll be back into their normal flow, and that's when I send out the request 2 weeks afterwards. So if you're a florist, that would apply. If you're if you provided furniture, if you provided DJ services, that's when you want to do it 2 weeks after. For you or for a photographer, you're going to have to wait until after they finished viewing the product, and wait, shortly after that. You don't have to wait that 2 week process. Maybe 1 week. Hey, you had a chance to look at this. What do you think? In your case, you want to make sure they liked it. So, what did you think? All right, blah 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 blah. Okay, well, great. You loved it. Oh, nice. Well, hey, here's the places where you can review us. Whether it's the 2 weeks after or 2 weeks after you or a week after you give them their product, is you give them the actual links to the Wedding Wire, to the Knot, to the Google, but don't give them the direct link for Yelp, because Yelp will know that you've given them a direct link. If you want them to review you on Yelp, you'll type in yelp.com. This is what you tell them. Type in yelp.com, put in my company name and my city, and then Yelp will find it, and then you can place a review on there. Otherwise, you've seen it where they hide your reviews. It's because they know that somebody gave them a link to review it, and they're going, this is suspicious. This doesn't fit in our algorithm. We want people to come to us generically and place that review.
That's interesting. So, okay, how many reviews do you have that's hidden? That's real reviews that are
I
hidden.
have probably 300 on Yelp that are
Oh,
hidden.
okay. I'll give you a tip. So, whenever we ask for a review, we send them the link, and some of them get hidden, some of them don't. But what we recently discovered is that if they upload a photo with the review of you with them, then the review doesn't get hidden because they know it's an actual person who does it.
Oh, that's a
So
good idea. That's a
so
great
it
idea.
it digs your review out of the hidden zone.
No, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
The other way, sometimes if it's their first review, they'll still think it's suspicious,
Yeah.
and they'll hide it. So tell them, hey, do other reviews too. Don't just do ours. Review lots of other. Review a
Oh,
few
that's
restaurants. And
great.
once you get 3 or 4 reviews, then they'll say, oh, and they'll pull it out from your shit
Oh my
list.
gosh. That's a great idea because I just realized, the planner, they usually send us the vendor list, and when we ask for the reviews, you could just say, "Here are the other vendors. Maybe you want to review them too," and then that
Oh,
way,
they may not be. They may not be a good idea because if one of the vendors messed up, they may put some bad stuff on that. But oh yeah,
Okay.
well Paul gave me your information. Blah 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 blah. Oh, okay.
Well, I don't really care as long as they give us a good review. That's all I care
Yeah,
about.
but again, we are community,
Yeah.
so you want to make sure that we
Okay.
get it all perfect in
I was
community.
I was just kidding, guys. Of course, we always as vendors whenever we work a wedding and there's a problem, we always try to help the other vendors solve it. Just like for
Oh,
one
exactly.
example, we had one where the florist, she fell down a flight of stairs and she broke a tooth, and
Oh
the
wow.
the bride never knew about it. We helped the florist out carry the other stuff, and she got taken to an ambulance, and everyone got there, and we helped her set up. But it's always going to be a group effort because at the end of the day, it's about the couple, right?
So that means you're tough and ruthless, and she was rough and toothless.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about rough, but yeah.
Okay, okay. It's an old one from,
Okay. So,
but it is about that. Like it happened to me. All of a sudden the florist didn't show up, and so oh my God, there's no bouquets for the bride to walk down. I walk into the restaurant of this venue. It was a golf club, and I saw flowers on all the tables. I went in there. I stole all the flowers, and I had some ribbon, and I made 4 bouquets for the bridesmaids, one bigger one for the bride. And all of a sudden, I walk in. Oh, here's your bouquets. They weren't what they wanted, but they had something. You know.
okay.
So if we all work together, it it all works out great.
Yeah. And
But sometimes you can't please anybody, especially with an alpaca. Uh,
man, that really left a scar on us.
I know it's all of us.
Yeah. It wasn't one of the best feelings ever, but at least we got to work together, so which what
That's
counts.
that's true.
Cuz
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, we all got booked to do a wedding for a couple. The bride wanted to be walked down the aisle with an alpaca, and so they found an alpaca farm, and they wanted my fiance Alex to do the ceremony, but he was kind of being kind of weird toward her, so she asked me to help co-officiate because he was kind of hitting on her in a non-hitting on her kind of way,
she
and
just
so
wasn't
we
she
both
just wasn't comfortable.
she just wasn't comfortable doing this based on his attitude toward her. And so I did it with her. The bride never ended up walking with the alpaca either, did she?
She the I think
Like her
the
escort
best
held the alpaca,
the
not
best
her.
man
Yeah.
held the alpaca, yeah.
So there was no coordinator, no nothing, and it was just not the greatest experience. The alpaca gave us a great review.
The
Um,
yeah. Yeah, the alpaca didn't give me a good review. He actually spat on me,
oh man,
which yeah, it took a week to take out, but you know. So okay, now I want to ask you about so you're saying that the best time for you to ask a review is at least for us videographers and photographers is after we give the previews, right?
right, right, because there's no way they're going to know what your product is until
Okay.
afterwards. You can ask. I mean, you can videotape it all day and say, "Hey, can you review me?" And they're like, "Well, we haven't even seen what you have. What if your video or your photos are junk? We
Yeah.
don't know that." So you want them to be able to take a look at it, view it with them, or send it to them, and then find out how they liked it first. In your case, because video and photography are a little different breeds when you're talking about getting reviews, because you kind of have to get the approval ahead of time of what they like.
Okay.
Once you
So
know they're happy, then you go for the review. Now, if they're a couple, because we have a thing we call do not sends, where if we get just a bad vibe, you ever go to a wedding and you just get a bad vibe from a couple, or the bride looks at you a certain way, like sneers at you, or the groom is like not talkative at all, you just feel something's not right. We just mark that as a do not send, and we don't even ask them for a review. So why poke the bear? Mm.
You know, those do not sends for us turn out to have the best reviews because
Oh,
it
yeah.
was so unexpected and it was from the heart. Usually, when we get something like that, you know, when we get like a no revisions from a couple, and we're like, wait, are you sure this is the right couple? Because you know they gave us like a weird vibe before, but fortunately, most of the couples we have, they review us and they give us like flying colors. So I'm happy. But to add to the
Great.
point earlier, whenever we ask for a review, it's always before we send the highlights out. Because what our line is like we're while you're waiting, your video's almost done, but while you're waiting, because they're we feel like they're on a wedding high still, and we kind of like want to get into that with the good grace. So most of our reviews are like, they've worked really well, but we haven't seen anything yet, but we love them or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, and that's good. That's a good way to get something to preclude it from seeing a really bad product and then not liking it. So yeah, there's ways of doing that.
Yeah, because they tend to get to their normal lives. They get to their back to their normal lives and they forget. We've had couples where they're fully paid and we all we need from them is the songs, and it's been 2 years and they still haven't had the songs. I'm like, guys, you're already paid, so we could just. So what I do is I just edit the video, send it to them. They're super busy, and then they see the video, and it's like a pleasant surprise after 2 years.
Right.
So okay, so now I
So
want.
when you're sending this email out to people, you basically say to them, "Hey, thank you for the opportunity to work together. We want other couples to experience what you've experienced. So we want you to share, with people, through the review process. We want you to share your experiences and how well it impacted you. One of the most important things, especially if you're giving them multiple places to review you, is ask them. They don't always do it, but ask them to make every review different. So the review on Wedding Wire, the review on the Knot, the review on Yelp, the review on Google, make them different. Because if all of a sudden you have 4 of the same reviews, Google looks at it as like, well, this is weird. I've seen these words before. Hey, I've seen these words. Hey, I've seen these words before. Google doesn't give it as much credence as seeing one say, hey, he was great to work with. Hey, working with him was great. Hey, he was great and on time and fun to work with. Boy, I wanted somebody fun to work with, and this was the person. If they're all different, Google looks at them all independently and goes, these are 4 different reviews. Otherwise, Google looks at them and they're going, all right, these are all the same thing. It's being spammed.
Okay, that's interesting.
Doesn't give it as much weight.
Okay, that's interesting because I didn't know that Google does that. So, okay,
Yeah,
that's
well,
interesting.
because imagine Google sees everything. So if they see the same exact content, just like if you have a duplicate website with the same content, Google's going to know, hey, there's another exact website exactly as yours, and they don't give it as much credence.
Okay, in Google we trust.
We do, for better or and
Okay,
richer or poorer.
so
Till internet death do we stop.
so I wanted to ask you then, since you have a lot of reviews, how how important how important is it right now for new businesses to get reviews as opposed to get more, because you for us we're like master networkers with air quotes, right?
Right.
So I feel like we get more work whenever we network with vendors than couples referring us. I think the ratio is bigger than the other. So how important do you think is having a good review or having reviews on your Yelp page, and where do you think is the best avenue for people to ask for reviews? For example, like if they only had one choice, where would you want to send these people?
If you're not an advertiser on the Yelp or I mean on Wedding Wire or the Knot, then don't use those first. Do Google and Yelp. Again, Google is owned by Google. So you just do a local review and you can do it that way. But everybody knows Yelp. And I don't know about you, but when you're looking for a restaurant or something to do, what do? You check out Yelp, see what they say. So if you have one review, great. But then who are you? You can also ask other people who were there. Hey, could you ask your best man and maid of honor to review us? Hey, could you have you know, have the videographer if you're somebody else? Hey, can you have the photographer? Can you have the wedding coordinator throw up a review? Now you got 4 reviews up there. Now you're starting to look better. They always say that you have to have a minimum of 10 reviews to actually be a viable business. So you want to be able to get up to 10 reviews, but they have to be real. They can't be you under 6 different email addresses saying, "Oh, I'm Bob and I work with," and a lot of people do that. And there are companies that do that.
Oh
And
man.
but you can look at my reviews and you know that they're all genuine. But that's why the best thing I ask people to do is the video testimonials. Because anybody can write a review on Yelp, Wedding Wire, anybody can write that. And you don't know if that's real or not. But when you do a testimonial, you have that couple in front of you. You have their, nobody's going to put on a dress and a tuxedo just to do a fake video. I mean, they might, but nobody's going to go through all that trouble to do it. So what do? I'm done with the ceremony, and you've probably seen this on my Facebook occasionally, is I'll go up to the couple. All right, I need 10 seconds of your time. Actually, 15 seconds is, optimal. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and you're going to say, "Hi, I'm Bob, and I'm Cindy, and we just got married at X venue. Alan was our officiant, and boy, it was a great job. We had so much fun. We did this and that. Thank you so much." And I tell them to give each other a kiss at the end. But every vendor can do that. I always tell DJs the best time to do that is the night's over. They just finished the last dance, and you go, "Come over here," and they're all hot and sweaty, makeup's running down their face, and that's when you go up to them and you go, "Hey, I need a testimonial. Did you have a good time? All right, say, all right, I'm Bob and I'm Cindy. We just danced our asses off. So and so was our DJ. I'm hot and sweaty, and this was a great party. Woohoo!" Right? That's when you would want to get it. Video testimonials tell the story from the lips of the people. One thing you want to make sure is when you're doing those video testimonials is make it feel real. Watch out about distractions in the background. So if it's too loud in the background, you can't hear, or I've done it on the beach where a guy in a Speedo decides to walk by. Control your environment as best as possible so you can hear what's happening. And turn your cell phone landscape style. You don't want it vertical style because if you try to upload that onto YouTube, it's going to have the borders on the sides. So you turn it and do it landscape style. That way it'll perfectly fit into YouTube. It'll also show well on any other format that you have it.
Okay. So how do you feel about? So where do you upload the videos again?
Yeah, 15-second video. Where are you going to upload it? You're going to upload it to your Facebook. You're going to upload it to your stories. You're going to upload it to Instagram. You're going to upload it to YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube channel, start one. And those little 15-second videos, they're great. And then you tag it appropriately.
Okay.
And one thing, especially if you've done this, say, at a venue, right? Send an email to the venue with a link to where you posted it. Say, "Hey, I just did a wedding at your place. Just got a great testimonial from Bob and Cindy. Here, check it out."
Okay.
Or even if the venue has a Facebook site that you can post stuff on, post it on their Facebook site. You go, "Hey, I just married Bob and Cindy at your place. Look at how happy they are. Give us a call when you need our services."
Okay. Do you ever ask for reviews on Facebook?
I do.
Okay.
That's one of the places we ask.
So my question is, whenever they do the video testimonial, do they still do the Yelp review?
Sorry, they.
Oh, so
they
when they give you the video testimonial, right? You film them at the end of the night. Do they still give you a Yelp review afterwards? Do
Oh
most
yeah,
of them?
yeah. We'll
Okay.
still ask them. Again, the more things you can have, again, if somebody reviews me 4 times in 4 different places and they're all different, that's 4 reviews. That's not just one review.
Yeah.
If they do 4 reviews in the testimonials, now you got five. So you got 5 places where people, the same person, can give you this a similar review about your services in all those different places, and
You're
that increases what you're doing two, three, five-fold.
yeah. You're really smart because just like just so people know, we were actually at a Tuesdays Together meeting, a mega meetup earlier this today, and I was one part of the panel, and we were talking about video marketing, and you're probably one of the only officiants out there, or probably a wedding vendor that actually films the couple to do their testimonial. And one of the biggest things about video marketing is if you run out of material, you could always just repurpose all these old videos and then just put it on your stories or put it on your Instagram page.
Hmm.
So you're a smart man. I wish I knew that before I started.
Hey, you know what? It's never too late to start. I've been in this 16 years. I still learn something new every. I just started doing podcasting like this. I do a little bit of a different podcast. What I'm doing is I'm basically interviewing people when I'm doing a wedding. I interview the manager of the venue. I interview the photographer, the videographer, the flower person. Get a quickie interview with the bride and groom before they walk down the aisle. I'm doing kind of behind the scenes of what happens before the ceremony takes place. And then hopefully I'll get a testimonial and a review from them later.
That's
So
amazing.
that adds one more level to what I got from that wedding. So
So
now instead of 1, 2, 3, 4 places they reviewed me, one testimonial, now I got maybe Facebook and this podcast. So now that's 6 places I got from one couple.
you know what? You could also at the end of your podcast, you could also read the reviews from couples to finish your episode. Just a thought, because I've seen a lot of podcasters do that to thank their couples or to thank their listeners. They read a bunch of reviews.
Yeah, that's great. And that's real cool. I try to keep mine down to about 10, 12 minutes because nobody wants to listen to people drone on and on and on and on. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. But we're
Hey, we're not droning. We're not droning.
no, no, we're giving useful content.
Oh
I mean, here
yeah.
I'm sitting in my car, all right, on my way back from that event, and from issuing a marriage license up in Beverly Hills to a celebrity, um,
Ooh,
talking about what we're doing.
deets. Can
Yeah,
you tell me
I
who it is
can't.
after after?
No, I can't. I can't even. I have to sign a
Oh
non-disclosure.
man.
So,
Okay. So
but
okay. Now I want to ask you, how important is it to? Well, I don't think you answered that question. How important is it for a small business who's starting out? So what do they do first? Do they network first, or do they? It's kind of like a chicken or the egg, right? Do they network
you do it
first?
all. If you can do an event, get the review. If you don't have any business, you just got to start off by networking. Work for somebody. A lot of people think, oh, hey, bought a camera. I'm gonna be a photographer. It doesn't work that way. It 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 takes time, right? You can't expect to be a success overnight. I was, but I'm something special.
You are
Uh,
special. Oh my
and
gosh.
Special K. Um,
Okay, I want to ask you then, since you've done so many weddings, so you've pretty much done every single kind of wedding out there, right? How do you?
there's always something. The one reclusive wedding I haven't done, the naked wedding, but that's another story for another time.
So no naked wedding yet.
Not yet. I've been asked, and they didn't pan out. They
Okay.
pulled. I guess they pulled out. Um,
Okay. So, my question then is, how do you cater to the other weddings that have a different culture from what your culture is? Like, do you? Because for me, like whenever we talk to a couple and they have a different culture, there's always that gap. And how do you convince them that you're the right person for the job?
Well, one way is lying. but but that doesn't always work. So what you need to do is you need to actually do the research ahead of time. Like I met with a couple the other day who it was an Indian couple, or one of them was Indian, but from a different area of India, or not India, but a different type of Hindu than I'm used to dealing with. Their traditions are different. So I did my research before I met with them. I said, oh, instead of the Mangal Sutra, they do this instead, and this and this. That way, when I talk to them, I was now speaking their language. Like, okay, well, let's why don't we add this and this to it? And then like the parents are looking at me. You know what that is all about? Um, they didn't actually say it that way, but they were impressed that me, the white guy, knew these different amounts of their culture. So if you do your homework ahead of time, read up about it. Go to Google. It's the greatest thing. You type in how to do a Sri Lankan wedding, how to do a Hindu, how to do a Buddhist ceremony. Learn those things. Have yourself a checklist when you're talking to them. I go, well, hey, how about if we do this and this and this? I have one coming up where we're doing a Greek Orthodox wedding, where they're doing the exchanges of the crowns. Right? Have I done that before? Yes, but we're doing it a little bit differently because they come from two different cultures. One of them's Buddhist and one of them
Wow.
Greek Orthodox. So we're combining my Buddhist readings with the crown and doing the Buddhist things as they're shaking the crown back and forth. And that's something that they totally loved. And they're like, oh my God, this is the perfect blending of what we have. So do your research and find out about what the different culture is, what they like, and then ask questions. It's just like when gay weddings started. People go, "Oh my God, I don't know what to say." You ask, "What do I call you, Mister and Mister? Him and her. What do we call you? What would you like to be called? Where would you like to stand? What would you like to see happen in this?" If you ask questions, they'll give you the answer that you need.
Yeah. Okay. So my last question is: are there? What's your for especially for the ceremony part, because that's where you usually are. What's your advice to wedding vendors? Because I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of things that went wrong, or just a lot of like really good stories, but not really a fun story.
Right?
What
Yeah, you
advice?
know it.
What advice can you give to, or not even advice, just try to catch their attention, and what grinds your gears about the
Oh, well,
ceremony?
for me as an officiant, I am dependent on my audio, and I need to make sure that that DJ has a viable system, has a good microphone. That if they're set up too far away, I out. No, it's A. All right. You don't at ceremony. All right? So I need to make sure my DJs understand that you can't be that far away. It's going to break up. I needed to make sure that it's 3 songs. How do you screw up 3 songs? All right. But it happens every weekend. All right. I don't know what it is, but some people just can't get the concept that it's 3 songs. All right. Um, but also the other thing that I see happen is photographers and videographers, if they're from different companies, they don't work together as a team. They don't sit down and strategize beforehand. All right, so when we're doing the ceremony, I'm going to stand here and you can stand there. I've seen a videographer and a photographer actually get into a fist fight in the aisle during the ceremony
Oh
because
my
they didn't
god.
talk to each other beforehand. So make sure that if you're a photographer and a videographer and you don't know the other person, take a couple minutes and say, hey, we're working together on this. Let's work so we can make sure that I don't block you, you don't block me, that we can get wide shots, that we pull back at certain times, and that we're not blocking it for the kiss shot. All
Okay.
right.
How about have you had any interesting wedding planner fiascos
Um,
that you have advice for?
yeah, wedding planners, let the officiants, especially professional officiants, uh, let us deal with our part of it. We'll go over ideas that we have, but we get hired to do the ceremony. We get hired to say the words and to do the actions. Let us work with you and show you what we want to put into it, and don't try to put your own. I had a wedding planner give me a script 5 minutes before I walked down the aisle, and say, "Oh, this is a script I'd like you to use." Like, well, this isn't what we agreed upon. I'm like, well, no, this is the script I have all my officiants use. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to use this script. This has like blessings, and this couple isn't religious. So work with the officiant. One thing as a planner you want to do is, A, find out what the officiant wants as far as a microphone, what the officiant wants as far as, what's going on in the ceremony. Don't just show up that day and expect everything to be done. Do your homework. Find out all the cool things so that when we get there, if I get to a place and they don't have a handheld microphone or they only have one lavalier, it's not going to work. So I want to make sure that planner talks to all of the vendors to make sure they have everything they need beforehand. I can't tell you how many times I show up at a wedding when there's a wedding planner and they don't know anything that's going on as far as what everybody needs. There's some amazing wedding planners. Don't get me wrong. I work with some of the most amazing wedding planners. But they're professionals, and they're the ones who do all this research. They send out the emails beforehand, the pre-planning. They know what everybody wants and needs. And that way, when we all show up, everything is done to the T.
The- You know, I just want to tell you something. The reason why I love working with you is because as a videographer, we don't like microphone stands in the ceremony, and you're one of the only people who actually just tough it out and just hold the microphone. And because whenever we do the first kiss and there's like a mic stand there, it looks really bad. So
Well,
I
also,
thank you.
most non-professional officiants stand there in the picture. The couple's like this, about to kiss, and the officiant is glooming over their face.
Yeah.
All my guys know that if I ever see them in a picture or video where that couple is kissing and their face is there in the middle of the video or the picture, they are fired instantly. All their weddings get taken away. They get publicly humiliated in the industry, and they'll never work in this town again.
I love that. Like the Godfather.
Yeah. I'm gonna do you a favor.
Okay. So I have a last question, like really quick.
Wait, I thought the
Uh,
last one was the last question.
Actually, it's fine.
It's gonna be one more question after this. Okay, go ahead.
So I just realized that you have a lot of people that work with you, right? How do
Mhm.
you really quickly, how do you pick the right people to work with you?
How do I select an officiant, you mean?
Yes, because there's a lot of like wedding companies that want to grow, and the
Hmm.
one of the biggest hindrances is to find the right person to work with, and pretty
It's
much
the
have a good
hardest thing
team.
in the world because you have to put your dependence on this person to A, represent your brand the way you've designed it, B, show up on time, C, do the job, and also not steal from you. And not everybody falls into that. I've worked with several photographer companies who have hired people, and their second shooters are now first shooters just don't show up, or show up late, or don't represent the brand properly. So it's really important for you when you're selecting people to work underneath you that they have the same philosophy as you. Make sure they understand that, look, this isn't just this may be a weekend gig for you, but for me, this is my life. And if you mess up my life, I'm going to mess you up. Hmm. But you don't have to say it like that, but let them know, look, this isn't a game. We're dealing with real emotions here. We're dealing with the most important day of somebody's life. And if you screw that up, you've ruined their life forever. And you want to make sure they understand that before even walking down the aisle. We just had to let go of one of our people because he was at a bridal show and passed out his own cards. That's a no-no. Okay, if you're working for somebody, see if you subcontracted another videographer, and they're going to the venue manager and go, you know what, I'm working for Paul, but here's my card.
Oh my gosh,
All right,
that's terrible.
and I can work much cheaper than he does. All right. You got to make sure people aren't going to do that. Thing is, I know everybody in this industry. So people call me and say, "Hey, your guy just did this. Your guy just gave me his card." I'm like, So
Oh my gosh. Well, you still have like a solid team. Everyone respects you in the industry, and you have built a reputation that not only exceeds people's expectations, but when they meet you, they actually see what everyone is talking about. And I really appreciate that you you're here talking to me on a podcast.
hey, I always want to work with the best people in the industry, and but I agreed to do your podcast anyway. Uh,
Okay, before
no,
before we
no,
get fired.
no. I got to tell you though. I mean, we've worked together for a long time, and all joking aside, I love the product that you do. I love seeing the videos afterwards, and and I know the effect that it has on the people once they see the videos that you produce. I know the emotions that they're going to have when they see that. So kudos for doing such an amazing job in what you do.
Thank you, likewise. And I would like it if the listeners, if you could tell the listeners if they have any questions for you or how to reach you, if they want to actually have their own an actual efficient too, where to find you and how.
Well, I have several different ways to get a hold of me. My website's www.greatofficiants.com. That's my main website, where that's where we do all the wedding stuff out of. But we also have our beach division, which is SoCalBeachWeddings.com. So if people want a wedding on the beach, that's where we serve all of LA and Orange County beaches doing that. We also have a wedding chapel if they just want a quickie wedding with up to 30 guests at our cool boutique wedding chapel. That's cutelittle.weddingchapel.com. And they can get all of our contact information from there or email me at info@greatofficiants.com.
Okay, and we're gonna put all of those links in the show notes for you guys. So again, thank you so much, and all the best to you, Alan.
Hey, thank you. Now I can get back on the freeway and continue on my quest for stardom.
All right, drive safely.
All right. Peace out, man.
That's the end of another great episode. I hope you picked something up from our guest. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out by emailing me at weddingbossness@gmail.com. I know there's so much information that was provided today, so be sure to check out the show notes for the links down below. Special thanks to our guest for today, and don't forget to visit their site after this episode. Thanks for listening. Until we meet again.